Thank you, Anirban. Thank you, India First.
And anything else that also.
And thank all of you for being here. I'm sure I'm the oldest person in this room by a mile. Now, the reason I say this is, growing up in the 1960s, early 60s, early 60s, India was an extremely poor country. Every year, the donors used to meet in a meeting called Aid India Consortium. How much to fund Government of India, World Bank, USAID, British, others. And looking back, I can say that it was a period of humiliation, So on one hand, I can say that we've gained a lot from what India was to what it is today, the India that you are seeing, the India you are inheriting, and the India that you have to take forward. There's been lots and lots of change. We've gained a lot. I think I'll pause for 30 seconds. I was Now my statement is modified on the age bit, but we'll let it pass. At the same time, I was telling them that I am the oldest person in the room. I said, now I will. So, India age is wisdom. So, we always look up to the... But at the same time, while we feel very happy with what we've done, which we should, whatever our political affiliation, we must accept that. At the same time, I can say lots not gained. 1960, South Korea's per capita income was the same as India's, 1960. Today, South Korea is a developed country with a per capita income 15 or 17 times India. 17 times. You can see the factors. China's per capita income was less than India's 1990. At least in 1990. Today, I want to venture to tell you the figures, Why am I saying so? Saying so is that there's so much opportunities that we lost. We could have done so much better. Each country is complex, each country has its own sets of problems. So what works in South Korea will not work here, which is fine. But that's not good enough answer for the millions of people who are deprived of the basic necessities of life. The millions of girls who've died, and boys, we owe them an answer. And as Anirban was saying, the politics is changing. Obviously, these are to do with issues of policies, choice of policies, and the choice of instruments, which means governance. I think on both this, time has come where we need to really move on. In mechanics, there is a law of entropy. And entropy basically is, if we take a machine which is working fine, if it does not, put it very, very simply, get external stimulus every now and then, ultimately it will break down. It runs out of its and breaks down. Now the systems that we have inherited, and they've changed over the years, but essentially the core remains, and the policies we inherited. Time has come to look at them very seriously and not about tinkering. Which is why the Prime Minister has very rightly chosen the word transformation. So it's not about incremental change will happen all the time. That's not to say it's not important. But simply incremental change will not be enough now. If we have to break out, if we have to get away from the mindset of poverty elevation to the mindset of poverty elimination, completely different mindset, Elevation is manapatti, Fine, when you get hurt, you need manapatti also. Nobody says you don't need manapatti. But that's not good enough. Ultimately, you have to solve the issue. And therefore, I think in that sense, people who think that the Planning Commission has been rebranded as the Niti Aayog are, to my mind, missing the wood for the trees. It's what is coming out till now, and I'm speaking from public record, I don't have any personal this thing. And how it play out is another matter also. What is coming out is very, very clearly, and the PM has mentioned a number of times, the need for an in-house think tank within the government. Now what happened is, for those of you who studied Indian economics, the Planning Commission, which was set up in 1951 to now, has undergone lots of changes of its own. Unfortunately, it moved away from a body which in the 50s, today we can debate it out, but at that time maybe, okay, not so much of a debate, so they were dissenting voices like Rajaji, is that from the day when they thought simplistically that input, we put in so much, we get this much of output, and therefore the job of a planning commission required to tell how much of the input should go into what sector to produce the kind of output that you want. Very simple, mechanical process. It moved from that into taking over the flow of funds from the center to the states. Now, many times I hear a statement made by political leaders, we are giving this money to the states. No, you are not giving anything to the states. As part of our quasi-federal arrangements, the states collect taxes, the center collects taxes. Center does not collect taxes for itself. This is a function it is performing for the entire country. So, the constitution makers were smart people. They laid down the concept of finance commission, a constitutional body, which will give the principles regularly updated on the basis on which money should go to the states. What was done was reduce the role of the finance commission by taking out the money which goes for planned purposes, development purposes. Of course, that's a full question altogether, whether plan and non-plan expenditure is the same as recurrent and investments. Actually, they are not, but we leave it aside for the time being. So it became a major control in the hands of Government of India on how to handle states. I like my friend Sushant Sareen, so I shall give his state more money. I do not like Professor Bajaj, so I shall. Now, the Finance Commission goes by formulas. Planning Commission started with the formula, the Gadgil formula, the Mukherjee-Gadgil formula, the modified formula. But the greater role out of that, even there, is that the central government started saying that the states are not doing a good job. So the central ministries, now agriculture is a state subject. Government of India ran agriculture schemes, or centrally sponsored schemes, or education, or health, across. Last count there were 180 or 200 such schemes. And that became a major source of flow of funds to the state. So in the whole process, you have completely defanged the states, you have tied their hands behind their back. As I said, money collected by central government is not the property of central government. It's a trusteeship role of the central government, which collects money and then through a regular, proper, transparent, equitable method. And equity is something you can debate it out that what weightage should be given, which are honest debates. But you removed all that role and you converted that into a body by the central government to the extent that the states need to get their plan approved by the planning commission. States make many schemes now. How schemes are made, I'll come to later on. So, all that ultimately was approved by the planning commission. So, here you want to run, supposing I am in the Andamans, a small scheme for the district of Nicobar in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. That scheme needs the approval of the Home Ministry and the Planning Commission. Chances are, the advisor of the Planning Commission dealing with hundreds of things. Would he have the domain knowledge to tell me how to run that scheme in the Nicobar Islands? Chances are, he or she would not know. But we centralized all of that. Now, obviously, when you have such a massive centralization process happening throughout, you are going to make mistakes. So, the Planning Commission, instead of being a larger body doing larger allocations, got into micromanagement, micro-control. All bureaucracies have this tendency. Max Weber didn't think of it. All bureaucracies have this control tendency. They don't like responsibilities. If I make you responsible, you will shirk away. If I say you have to control this fellow, you will come and forget. I have control everything. So all bureaucracy, inherent, very inherent. Don't blame bureaucracy for it. That's the job. So we ran into problems there, which is why when states wanted to do something innovative, the Planning Commission, instead of facilitating it, acted as roadblocks because the states were not convenient states. So that's one set of issues. The second set of issues is how we do decision making, how policies are made. Now, there is no perfect method to make policy, but the reasonable method is to do it on the basis of empirical data. You do some pilots, you test out 3-4 approaches. So that is a long process. Our leadership normally doesn't have the patience for these things. So one fine day the HRD minister announces, today is Monday, right? Today is Monday? Tuesday. One fine day the HRD minister announces that from next Friday, 6 new IITs will function. This is happening. It's not that I'm talking about this is not, it happened in there. We have subverted the whole process of developing policy I'm making it completely ad hoc, completely idiosyncratic. I like it, which I do it this way. On what basis you say so? No, I feel so. Now, whether there is a demand for it or not, maybe there is a demand. Whether this approach is the right approach or not, maybe. These are issues which need serious thought. This needs, it looks like a painful process, but if you don't start properly, you will. So, one issue I said was this over centralized controls. Other set of issues was a policy making process has completely collapsed over the years. And all governments are responsible for it. So some are more, some are less. So, governments have to break out of that. Third set of issues I think is that in this whole thing, we lost sight of what Anirban referred to, the last person in the line. So, looking at the economy as a whole, we lost sight of the smallest habitations. What is their needs? How do they function? I'll give you a small case. We talked about financial inclusion. Now, the RBI requirements of a bank branch are so many villages, so much population, one branch. Which is fine as a rule goes. But when you look at the country, where in Bihar your density of population is extremely high, or Ladakh and Barmer which is extremely low, what in Bihar in 5 square kilometers you will get, in Barmer maybe 250 square kilometers. So it's not in this piece. It's a huge variation. But once you have a cookie cutter approach, standard formula approach, it's like I don't know how to swim and I have to cross a river and there's no bridge and he tells me that the average depth is 4 feet and since I'm 6.5 inches, okay, 4 feet, I'm fine. No, but the shallow ends are shallow and the center is 8 feet deep, right? So law of averages doesn't always work. We need a more nuanced approach. If you look at all these problems that I have raised, I think the beginning of the Niti Aayog, if you read the government resolution on it, it seems to have seen all this, understood these problems and suggested a way out. The Niti Aayog, Prime Minister remains the chairman, which is fine. The size has been brought down. It's not a place where people who have to adjust it somewhere in the government, usko wahan baitha do, Minister of State ka rank mil gaya, he has a car with a lal batti on top, and she is happy. It's specialized. It has the provision of flexibility. You can bring in people, take out people, addressing a specific issues, get domain expert, otherwise change it. Even more important, which I liked about it, is that its approaches to governance, that it shall be a body of chief ministers, the PM presiding over. So the clear ownership of the body is with the states and center. It's not. In fact, the constitution is doesn't use the word center, it uses the word union, right? Sangh. So spelling in में जो संघ होने लगा तो people got worried कि बीजेपी का government आएगा संघ कैसे आएगा? संघ is a term used in the constitution. UPSC is संघ लोक सेवा आयोग. So it's now a body of the union and the states as partners. Number 2, it has a problem-solving approach. For specific problems, it shall constitute small groups. Given a task is over, the group gets disbanded. Unlike the judicial inquiry into the Kaveri issue set up in 1990 to sort it out, in 2012 was still discussing it, So this is a body, time-bound body, sort it out. And most important, which I liked about it is that it's a body to facilitate decision making in the government, because it is not a decision maker itself. The moment you give any body, planning commission, any body, a role itself, a blocking role, a controlling role, forget it, it's policy part. If you want to do genuine policy development, which is why the finance commission does an excellent job of it, you can criticize it, which is fine, but it's an intellectual criticism. It's not a dishonest way of this thing. It doesn't have an executive role. You have to, in that sense, allow somebody who doesn't have day-to-day responsibilities. To be fair, if I have day-to-day responsibility, I'm solving problems of today. I cannot think after tomorrow. You need a body which is not involved in day-to-day governance. Niti Aayog is clearly not involved in day-to-day governance. The allocation of funds have to be done legally, constitutionally, not through the Niti Aayog. And the looking at, given the task of bottoms-up planning, you have to look at the villages, work the way upwards. So you think largely, think the macro issues, think the local issues, work upwards, and with that process of working, looking at the bird's eye view and working bottoms up, evolve a shared national goals. We need national goals. We need somebody to review national goals. We need to make amendments in it, but we need somebody who can do that without getting their hands into active operations. And I think when you look at all that, potentially, we can only say potentially because we don't know how it will function. Being a bureaucrat of 34 years, which I quit. I took early retirement from the government 2 years ago, though I had 4 years to go, precisely because I felt that I think action should now shift outside the government. Government has an important role to play, but government needs domain experts from outside for specific purposes. But the moment I make the domain expert a part of the government, the first thing he or she does is become a babu better than me. They want an office of this size, they want a mirror on the wall. Government, if you ever go to, you find out how senior the person is, there's a towel on the chair, you know he's a senior person. So it's very important, towel on the chair and the light outside the door. You know. We don't want that to happen. We need the bureaucracy for its job, but we need knowledge outside the bureaucracy, and only when the two, the guys with the day-to-day experience and the guys with the domain knowledge who are working all the time, look at the situation from outside, these have to come together. So in that sense, I think the approach to government on these issues, if there are things of the government I think they're not doing right, which is true, which is fine. But these are things that you and I can disagree with, you know. But the basic approach, I must accept that yes, your intentions are clear, you're working on the right lines. Of course, I would rather have a bottle of water here, not there, which is something which we can keep on debating about, which is, you know. So I think I'll not take too much of time, you other people also, and we hope to have question and answers. But I think in all these, when I look at things, I'm extremely convinced that there is tremendous potential that the Niti Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India, I think the name Niti, very good play on the words. I think it's not just symbolic, but I think it represents a conscious decision to look at not incremental change, but transforming India. Thank you.